this meeting of the Town of Bedford Planning Commission to order. We do have a quorum. I thank y'all for coming. I really don't have any comments. Does anyone have any comments this evening?
I just had a question to Bart. Can you give us just a brief update on the school situation, school building?
Oh, yes, Bedford Medical Roger. Happy to. The good news is Mr. McCormick and Waukesha are still committed to moving forward. However, given the fire and the effects of that, they are going to come before you next month with a request to amend their zoning permit that we approved several months ago to make a recommended change. That change being removing the auditorium as a use and replacing it with additional apartments. But that will require a public hearing before both the Planning Commission and the Council, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but that'll be the first Thursday in June for here and the subsequent Tuesday at 7 o'clock thereafter. And by that time, we do intend to have an in-person public hearing because obviously it's a major issue of importance to the community, and we'll allow people to comment in a digital way and virtually, but we also want to make sure they have the opportunity to come here directly and speak their piece. But that's where we are. If the change in the permit is approved, that will affect the way Mr. McCormick moves forward with cleaning up the property. If it's not, then he'll do it another way.
Okay, on cleaning up the property and the structural braces and all of that stuff that goes along with that, who is bearing the cost? Is the city bearing that cost? Or
No, Waukesha is bearing that cost.
They are?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have any liability about expenses on that side of it?
No.
Okay. And maybe a touchy question, but the insurance, I understand that the city had insurance and he had insurance.
His insurance is being held responsible for that.
Okay.
And that's spelled out in the agreement as well.
Okay. My last question, and I'll be quiet about the school, is that he was very confident back in October about fire protection and all, which of course proved not to be accurate. What about Old Yellow? Have we, if something happens to Old Yellow, what is the liability on, based on where we are today with him, what is the liability for the city on Old Yellow?
The same as the brick building. As part of the agreement, he carries the insurance on the entire campus. And
so if something happens to Old Yellow, it's on his dime, not?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
That it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was in February? And we'll entertain a motion regarding those.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes for February 6th, 2020 have been approved. Staff and committee reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Don't really have a report prepared tonight per se, but I'll be happy to respond to any questions you have. We do have an item of discussion that's our main item of business tonight that'll probably occupy a lot of our time. But again, if you have any other questions about anything else that's going on, I'll be happy to respond to those at this time.
No questions? Thank you.
Okay.
The new business is request for qualifications related to review and possible revision of the Town of Bedford zoning ordinance. Steve Rush, Mary Zirkle, and I met, and we had received 4 RFQs. We determined that one of them was not actually qualified. After reviewing them, they ranged in price from, let's see, about $17,000 to $45,000, so it was a broad range. After reviewing them, we decided that there were 2 that we were the most interested in because they seemed to use the most plain English. Steve said that he would like to have it so that even an 8th grader would understand it, which would be refreshing. And, but we decided that we wanted to, this was just to review the ordinance. It was not to rewrite it, which is our ultimate goal. So we decided to ask the companies if they would give us some kind of an estimate of what it would cost to go ahead and rewrite it. Because we thought it would be best to have the same company review it as rewrote it. So I don't know if you've made any progress on that, or
Madam
were
Chair,
we supposed to decide if we were going to do that? Or?
I think I was going to formulate some questions for you, so I've got a memo that summarizes what you just said very well, and then the questions that I'll be asking of those top two. There's a question about how we do the award through the proposal that was put out versus the full rewrite. We wanted to make sure that we can capture that in our conversations with them and bring back the full cost for consideration for the town council to consider for that number. So I haven't had a chance to talk with those two yet because I wanted to talk with the Planning District Commission in Lynchburg to see what they had in their on-call proposals. The top two consultants were actually, they're on call for 5 years through the Planning District Commission, which would help us, I think, in using them for a full revision to the ordinance. So I need to follow up with those.
So if you all got the memo, the questions we had proposed, and I'm hoping that you can think about this and tell us what your thoughts are, and if you have any additional questions, was the time to complete, how long would it take them to complete it if we asked them to go ahead and do the review and the revision? I guess we'd want a time frame on both of those, right? If there would be public meetings in the community. Steve recommended going ahead and having them draft up the rewrite and then present it to the public and get their input there, because a lot of times we have public hearings and people don't really understand what we're looking at and what the idea behind it is. So he thought that would be helpful. And we were concerned about whether they know the community, and we wanted someone that would be hands-on, feet on the ground, get to know Bedford, and know what we expect and what's already here, and know the direction that we want to go, and how much time they would spend doing that. Cost, of course, was an issue, and approach. What did approach mean?
How they wanted to carry it out. So that kind of gets back to the meeting versus just what is their timeline and how would they do it?
Okay.
To then bring it back to us.
Because they all did kind of propose a timeline for the initial review and then visiting the community and public hearings and all of those things. So I guess that's what that meant. And some of them, one of the companies that was the highest price, we really liked the graphics that they had, but we felt like the price that they had on it was prohibitive.
Yeah, twice the cost of the others.
Yeah, it was. That was the highest estimate. And we were going to look at Municode connection ease.
Yeah, that's how well it integrates back with all of our ordinances are on municode.com. So there's a cost to that, bringing a document back into that structure for the public to have easy access to it.
So that it's searchable and you can see it from your home.
Anybody can look at it anywhere.
Yeah. So what do you all think?
Which, did you say you narrowed it down to 2, is that correct?
Correct. 2 out of 4. We decided one was not qualified.
Okay, and when you were speaking of the expense a while ago, from, excuse me, 17 to 45, I believe, and one was for the review and one was for the proposal, what is the, I think you're right.
No, they were both for the review. Those were just estimates on what it would cost to review our ordinance, not
Right.
to rewrite it.
Okay,
So what we're talking about is contacting the 2 companies that we're most interested in and asking them to also supply us with what it would cost, give us an estimate.
so they have not, you don't have a
No.
quote on that?
No.
Okay. Well, I think you are wise in going with whoever reviews should be the one, because you're going to be plowing over the same ground, it looks like to me, if you have one reviewing it and one rewriting it. So, you okay?
What was their thoughts on schedule as far as being able to complete the task? You know, one, you know, I'm guessing they gave us an idea on what they thought once released, how long that review would take. Obviously, we don't know the rewrite part yet, but I'm guessing they probably have kind of an inkling of what that schedule, timeframe and schedule look like.
It was 90 days, the request for qualifications spelled out, they had 90 days to do the analysis of the existing ordinance, so that was a pretty quick turnaround for
So
that.
they didn't have any issues with that 90-day timeframe that we put out for the RFQ?
No.
Okay.
They had about that long to actually reply to the RFQ.
Right.
So they were given every opportunity to know what they were getting into on the front end so that an analysis would be pretty smooth on the other side. So, yeah, no one said they couldn't meet the 90-day review.
And then we talked about a time frame for the rewrite. What did we decide on?
We were talking 12 months, I think 1 year to be thorough about it, but no longer than it needed to be unless the cost could be reflected in an extension of time. So let's say we gave them 18 months, would the cost go down for them to take more time to do it? So that was just one of the points of conversation for that. So that's one of the questions we were going to ask them is how long would it take them to do that? Because we don't want this staying out there too long.
Right.
And people lose momentum to get it done. We want it now.
Pressure.
Yes.
Well, too much can change in 18 months.
That's true too.
I mean, landscapes change quickly as we're learning right now. 18 months, a lot of, what may be relevant, we may have missed a boat and we got to go back and do another another revision, rewrite, addendums, and then it starts getting messy again.
The other thing to think about is what we actually want in the rewrite.
Mhm.
Do we want to keep the existing zones that we have? Do we want to see them change? I looked at some of the work that they've done in other towns, just to get an idea of what they've done and what zones they used and how it was formatted, how easy it was to understand and to find things. And some localities have changed, from, like, they don't have R1, R2, they have the state districts, and I don't remember what all they were, but they're different. In a downtown, well, they called it uptown, we call it downtown. A downtown zone,
Yeah.
Think about what you would like to see, and what you think would work for Bedford. Anybody else, you have anything else that we might consider when we're looking at it? Any ideas? If not, we'll go on to unfinished business. And it's my understanding that our water has been with the town of Bedford for 20 years this month. And so the Planning Commission wanted to do something to thank you for your service. And so we have a little something for you. And since our budget is pretty low, like non-existent, Jason recommended this precious commodity, which is
Oh, that's one. I'm certainly not worth it.
Thank you. We just wanted to do a little something.
Allow me to say it's been my very great privilege to serve this community in this capacity for this long. And thank you for your patience and your leadership. And I'll also observe that, candidly, probably having one person in charge of things for 20 years is too long. So,
Well, you've worn many hats, and you've worn them well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It means a lot to me, and you all mean a lot to me, and this community does. So it's been a great pleasure to be here, and I'll be happy to be here as long as you put up with me.
Thank you. Well, since we don't have any public, won't have any public comment, so if there's nothing else, we will adjourn.